Good morning. Recently, Warband Man made a video speaking with various clan leaders in NA on the subject of why Bannerlord PB died. Persistent Bannerlord, that is. This is a response, kind of. I'm more going over the conversations here, the key points that were highlighted. And breaking down some of the issues and solutions that were given, some in some places. And we are going to hopefully get something out of it. I'm making this video for some obvious reasons, also some less obvious reasons, and hopefully everyone who watches it gets some kind of value from it. So with that, we begin. All right. I'll also have some persistent Bannerlord footage in the background for those of you who get bored. The first clip is with Gage, who leads KOTF, and that will be here.
Just in terms of, what do you think it was like an issue with the structure of the mod, or was it a community issue, or anything like that?
Well, a lot of clan leaders and a lot of other people think that it was maybe, let's say, a map issue, or it was a mod issue, or it was unstable. And I think part of that is true. I mean, PB, the server was unstable to some point. I mean, every single time we try to siege, we would get like really close to the siege being done, and then the server would crash, and it would be very demoralizing, and it wasn't that good. But
So the first issue here, the mechanical server issue, well-known one, but essentially what was said here is that it's tolerable. It's not the biggest thing in the world, and it doesn't dissuade people from playing and getting on as much as other things do. So in terms of all of the issues of PB, it has to be noted that the network issue is one of them, a glaring one, but by far not the biggest um, issue out there. The next clip is starting at 4 minutes 30 seconds.
faction that can create wars and do other things and keep the server going. Jom and Tall, I mean, they're kind of been allied forever. That's whatever. Let's say HON. There's villages that are empty. HON, 5, 10 people go to a village, conquer it, take it, and then do other things. Do small wars with other small clans. And then big clans can do big wars with other big clans, and then it can be like a big clan versus big clan, and then they can have like a couple small clans that are allied with them, diplomacy instead of just in their faction. And then mercenary companies can actually have something to do.
Very good points. This is somewhat, I think, a solution to the fact that a lot of the player base is centralized. I think what was brought up before, a few seconds before, is that a lot of the clans and communities were combining and joining together, which in itself is a form of diplomacy, but it has consequences related to, other clans being able to attack. Well, essentially, the reason why these clans even come together, which is what they say, this is from their perspective, is that individually, a lot of clans are small numerically and not able to take and hold castles by themselves, and so they group together and combine clans in order to present a stronger force in the server. The consequence of that is that these clans are now able to take and hold these castles, but clans that end up, on their own being numerically less than the combined system, it has that same dynamic where they can't really attack fairly, or when attacked, they can't hold their ground. So it does make it difficult, certainly. Um, but this seems to be somewhat the same issue, depending on what side you're on or whether or not your clan is a part of a small system or a big system. Overall, though, having this dynamic of there being small clans that are independent and large clans that are independent, which I think is what Gage here is saying, or at least indicating. Anyone is free to correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not a genius. So it seems like the the condition of having lots of small clans and lots of big clans would be beneficial. You'll hear later probably the facts that the 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 bigger clans are, the more often you interact with them, and the more basically annoying it gets to interact with them. And so smaller clans are more dynamic, they're more interesting because they come and go, they create newer stories, and there's less restrictions, there's less barriers to actually doing stuff, right? Because the bigger a system gets, the more restrictive it has to get just by nature. So the encouragement for smaller communities to either branch off or start popping up, maybe coming from other games or something like that, is something that would benefit definitely, at least theoretically. I couldn't make a list of downsides for there being a lot of, as long as they follow the rules, of course, there being a lot of new people that come in or smaller groups that start playing, but don't end up forming into bigger systems. Next clip is at 5 minutes and 57 seconds. And before we move on, by the way, engagements and mercenaries. Mercenaries are great. I think that there should be more mercenaries. Um, the idea of having multiple different ones, or like the same mercenary clan that's like super big, has like smaller divisions that it can hire out to different people, those things cause RP. Those things cause actual diplomacy. They're very profitable, as everyone knows. Mercenaries is something that maybe should be more looked into. I'm only aware of two clans that dabble in that kind of thing, but maybe we'll see more in the future. Next clip is 15, or no, 5 actually, 5:57.
And I've heard one thing that people have told me is that they think the mod was too grindy, and they believe that was a major cause of why the mod died.
I mean, that's the whole part of persistent, right? I mean, PE was less grindy. I have said multiple times I like PE better than PB, but PE is an old thing now. It's not. It's kind of nostalgia, right? PB is the new thing, and that's what we're gonna have to do. Maybe it's just the people who want to fight that are complaining about the surfing and crafting. And in order then to fight and have armor and swords, you're gonna have to craft and surf. And I don't think it's too grindy.
So that's a good argument on that side of the debate. I personally would say it is too grindy, but as far as the criticism of that argument, there isn't a lot of solid foundation to criticize it from. There is definitely an understandable amount of work that has to go into, from mining to refining the metal to crafting with the metal to putting all the pieces together with the wooden pieces and the leather pieces and everything like that. I think as a as a nerd, essentially, um, logistics and economies of scale, that type of thing is something that PB does very well. But I think the debate here, the other side of the debate, would be whether or not there is too much of that for the actual content of fighting in the game. Because this is, at the end of the day, a fighting game. Even though there's a lot of tactics and strategy you can put into it, um, from the individual perspective, it's a fighting game. So so the idea of there having to be a realistic amount of work for a let's say a non-realistic combat scenario, one that is over quickly, incredibly expensive, um, that's I guess a debate that we will need to get more points of reference on. But as far as this perspective, this person who's been Gage, who's been playing for quite a while, in PB and many other types of multiplayer servers, he believes that there is an equally a proportionate amount of work that goes into acquiring weapons and gear, uh, compared to how easy it is to lose and risk and win gear and I guess territory as well. So there is Gage's section. Next is Ducky. I'm not sure what clan he leads or if he's the leader of a clan, but the next clip is 7 minutes 15.
Why do you think this is the case?
These occurrences are happening.
By this, I believe he means the server dying, since that's the title of the thing.
Why do you think this is the case?
These occurrences are happening because Persistent Bannerlord does not have a good barrier of entry. It is far too high and exclusive to people who want to be completely attentive and
this particular clip goes on for a while, so I'm going to put it at an elevated speed. You can turn the video down if you like, the video speed down, if you want to match it up again. But for the sake of time, I believe you'll still be able to understand him easily enough.
or are very talented at the game.
I see. So that cuts out players who maybe don't have enough time to sink into the game.
The aspiration of all PB players is a guarantee of logging in and being that warrior of renown, being seen, being successful. Yuri did exactly as he sought out to do. He recreated PW, but he recreated PW without actually analyzing why PW succeeded. PW succeeded because the average time to find an interaction took less than 30 to 1 minute. This is because the maps were set for 200 players, and on average were 7 castles each. So people had this impression that PW was alive all the time. Every single map maker had a proximity scheme and an occlusion pathing. So pathing was occluded to where players would constantly be interacting. So in order to get point A, you need to cross point B, which is either a thin bridge or a riverbank. That experience was captured the best in the first 4 years of PW's life, from 2010 to 2014. The reason why it's so glorified and romanticized is because there was a food chain. There was a food chain because everyone.
So, as to not get too off track here, I guess I separated the first and second point that he made. The first point, I believe, what he's saying is that the barrier to action is what I believe he was saying, because the barrier to entry is you just have to download the mod. It is actually, for any of you that don't know, you don't have to be in a team to play BB. You can just go on as a single player. You can get recruited from there, or you can play an outlaw or town watch, or just kind of be a citizen, roam around and see what's up. Look at the stories that goes on around you from first person. A very good thing to do. Now, um, the in terms of action, like I was just saying, this is a fighting game. So the barrier to getting into a battle and fighting with people, and maybe being able to die and then do that again to get into battle and fight with people, uh, that is too high. Is seems like what he is indicating or saying here. Uh, as we were previously discussing, it kind of goes into the balance between how much effort goes into acquiring gear versus how easy it is to gain or lose gear. It seems to be misbalanced, according to the opinions of most. Not all, as we know, but most. Um, but we will see what he says continuing on. But I just wanted to stop there and clarify the first point he was making, which is it's quite difficult for any old person to just hop in and then be in a battle like you see in every other Bannerlord game mode, essentially.
Everyone was new and everyone was bad. Majority of players were very bad, so every single amoeba of players had the ability to be that glorious warrior of renown.
I see. So everything is thrown out of whack. And what would you suggest to fix this problem?
To destroy the barrier of entry on PX mods at last, destroy the enemy of old. The enemy of old is drop on death. In the beginning, Born sought out to make a 20% drop on death with gold. Players alleviated this symptom by first incurring admin banks and then later scripted banks. But it doesn't actually solve the issue. What it does is that it puts your gold in a pocket, and therefore people can no longer halt you. Therefore, that noob doesn't have the demographic to feed on. The noob, there's a fallacy that noobs come on PB and they're destroyed by outlaws and they die. That is true, and it is exacerbated by drop on death. But the main reason they don't play is because there's no guarantee that they gain gold, and there's no guarantee that they can win a fight. That's because there's no noobs like them that give them the playing field. There's no noobs like them that give them the playing field. It's because all the gold is in the bank, and those players are deterred by drop on death by those better players.
So, from what I understand from this, it seems like he's saying even regular players, average players that come on, even not even just new players, it is difficult to see a circulation of money, a circulation of gear, because players that are really good typically don't die, and so their gear never gets dropped. Whereas, serfs put all their money in a bank, and the few pieces of money that they take out to buy weapons and gear immediately gets dropped and then taken by new players or good players who usually don't die. A lot of war is good for that because it distributes gear fantastically. It allows for passers-by, or just kind of anyone and everyone to take advantage of a chaotic situation. But outside of very risky methods, it doesn't seem, this is what he's saying, what it seems to be saying is, it doesn't seem like there is a good spreading out of ways to get gear, and so it's hard to do, and so people hoard the value that they have, and it makes it even harder to spread it around. So that is, I think, what I can take from there. Next clip is at 12 minutes 45 seconds.
You believe that two things basically need to be done, largely speaking. One, to remove the dropping of gold on death and instead focus more on the players dropping gear. And two, to reduce the grinding time for acquiring money and such.
And resources. It should be very simple to make weapons. It should not require assistance. Any player, anytime should be able to make a weapon.
I think that this is, if I was going full into the philosophy of it has to be basically just Call of Duty, just combat anytime, every time, no matter what, and I should be able to fight, kind of whenever I please, uh, then this would be the guiding light. Any player, anytime, should be able to make a weapon. If that is what PB is designed for, then every restriction or every thing that prevents you from being able to do that, just walking up to a place, getting a weapon, and then moving on to a battle, should be removed. I disagree with that as a fundamental philosophy, although I believe it should be easier to get weapons than it is currently. Um, any player, anytime, should be able to make a weapon. I think there is a good benefit to having diversification of roles. Doctors, you have commanders, sergeants, you have even horses versus bowmen versus infantry, regular ground infantry. I think there's a good thing to that, and I mean, maybe I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Every soldier class should be able to make a weapon. Is that true? I think maybe, probably yes. If we would meet in the middle, that if you are a non-serf or a non support class, you should be able to get a weapon pretty much any time, as long as you have previously put in value to exchange for it. A little bit, just a little bit. Um, so yes, do I think that this is a good quote? Actually, yes. Regardless of what philosophy you're going with, it is at least something you should keep in mind as a community um, sentiment. This is something that the community will echo, not just because this is a popular person, but because you know he's only saying things that are kind of what he observes or what other people passively constantly say. And so this is a good metric for what the community feels. And so, yes, any player, anytime should be able to make a weapon. Is something that we should write down. Maybe not something we should follow to the T, but something definitely to write down. That's the last part from Ducky. So the next clip is from Seducing Vocals, leader of NATO, lovely person, starting at 1442.
People get an itch. Bannerlord's a very unique game. There's really no other game out there that can give you the adrenaline and the content with a group or solo. And with the uniqueness and the mechanics of the game, having an open world that is not an MMO leveling system, being able to freely fight and be your own person, that itch comes back every like few months. So it's been the same pattern. Everybody gets the itch for the open world feeling for 2 or 3 months. It goes strong always for the first month. You always see like a record-breaking number until a couple months of that, whoever the server hoster is, then it starts to level out. However, it's always the same. So to make it easy, first 2 months usually of a server being alive, you'll start with your high spike, then it levels out at about 180 players, and then by the 3rd month it's dead. Usually what happens is the map change, people also lose the itch, they want to go back to playing whatever other games they want because it is a grind. PW, PK, PB, PE all require a level of grind because of the way it works, and people lose that itch after like 2 months, 3 months. Always been like that, and then usually it comes back.
So he did a good job of running quickly through the cycle, this famous PB death cycle. I'm not incredibly familiar with his exposure or his timeline in PB, but it seems like he's describing what everyone else tends to describe when this issue is brought up, and so that deserves some merit by itself. My summary, my notes here, from what I got from this was the feeling of the game, because the vibe is great. What you can do is great. So the feeling of the game inspires interest in the server, but the conditions that are there when you get there prevent its enjoyment. And then it eventually dies and then comes back. Because, people feel like, I mean, you can rewind the video. I won't want to, rehash his point because it was articulated very well. That cycle seems like I mean, I'm a new player. Keep this in mind. It seems like it's a preventable issue somewhat if some of these conditions, right? Because it's not always, as we talked about earlier, like Gage said, the server connectability is not the main issue or the biggest issue. Not even one of the ones that everybody talks about, really. So it's these conditions that are there when the players get there that affect the fun not happening until it dies and comes back. So it seems like nothing is able to stop this love that you have for persistence, but except for the people that mess it all up. That is a seed of a conversation for another day, another time, but it is well to have been elaborated here. The next clip is 1715.
2 and 3 is simply clan leader chatter. That mod, unfortunately, gives clan leaders too much power to decide and make or break a server count. And part of that answer of 2 and 3 is 1 is the clan leader's power they have over a community, and 2 is simply the reactions off the server. The way people retaliate off server is worse than I've ever seen. Back on Warband, you used to war someone, it was chill. Take the castle, give it back. Everybody played from like 7 to 10. Nobody's mad, everybody's cool. Bannerlord changed completely. Now when the castle's taken, people take it super personal. They take it outside of the game and it starts bleeding into other games, other iterations of Mountain Blade. It bleeds into Discord, all kinds of arguments, and then it becomes, instead of you killing me and me letting it go, I'm going to come back tomorrow and the next 3-4 days after, and I'm going to do whatever I can to make your experience terrible. Because you pissed me off when you siege my castle. Just how it works for some reason now. I don't really get that. That's really it.
Yeah, I don't get it either. There's really no reason to do all that, but that's maybe another set of problems and solutions that we can hammer out. The first thing he said there was that the level of power which clan leaders have, the level of influence that clan leaders have in affecting the player count on the server, is quite detrimental. And I guess I would agree. There's a lot of players that would be on the server just in terms of numbers and statistics, not whether or not I think they should be playing on PB. Um, but in terms of numbers and statistics and patterns, uh, there are a lot of players who want to play PB but can't because their team, which they're obligated to go to events with, most teams are like that. I can't really think of any exceptions. Um, they go where the team is. That's the point, really, of being in a team. Uh, and so I don't know where the line is that should be negotiated as for when people ought to just kind of chill as solos on PB and when it should be a team effort because it's undeniable team efforts create better stories. They are more impactful, more influential on the world. But without that individual aspect, like many of these players said, without the dynamism of having these smaller groups interacting with the larger groups, then it's not fun for anybody. um, and then he also went into like personal dramas and biases and everything like that. Um, that's something that's been hashed so much. I don't think we need to even discuss it here. But the the quote that he has, I'll even play it again. I believe it's around 1749. Is this it? Let's see if this is it.
You used to war someone, it was chill. Take the castle, give it back. Everybody played from like 7 to 10. Nobody's mad, everybody's cool.
That's it right there. Nobody's mad, everybody's cool. That needs to be written down and etched into stone somewhere, because it seems like most of the issues outside of the server, most of the issues in the Bannerlord community, and I'm talking across PB, across every event, everything. I don't know about the EU community, but at least in NA, every issue that's told to me, described to me, and that I've observed directly is a violation of this rule. Nobody's mad, everybody's cool. And that's a choice because I think there's a lot of complaining that gets done in Discord VCs, and then that complaining turns into like animosity, and then that animosity turns into whatever else. And so, I mean, honestly, a lot of these issues can just be solved by saying, "Hey, you lost a war. Shut up about it. Don't complain." Like, I know you lost, yes, and I know that you probably would like to vent, yes, but shut up because that's not the energy, that's not the vibe that we need over here. Nobody's mad, everybody's cool. Maybe if you're mad, dismiss yourself, right? Um I don't want to be like the asshole or like the dictator, but nobody's mad, everybody's cool is a necessary condition of something like a mass multiplayer online game, or else it turns into toxicity, especially since there's only 1 or 2 or 300 players that circulate um, consistently, reliably in these persistent servers. And so nobody's mad, everybody's cool is necessary, or else it turns into toxicity. And there is no basis of common cause or gentlemanly agreements that can happen unless there is a foundation of I know for a fact whether or not this war in the server goes bad or good, these guys won't hold it against me out of the server, or nothing outside of the server will be affected by what happens in the server. That's exactly what he says. Um, so I encourage a lot of people to rewind that back and listen to it and highlight that phrase. Nobody's mad, everybody's cool, because that has to be enforced, essentially. Because if that's not enforced, you can't enforce anything else. It that then just becomes individual conflicts, and whoever is more influential wins. Whoever loses just up and leaves or becomes incredibly toxic or becomes isolationist or whatever. That's not what we need. So that's the last clip. What I will do now is quickly summarize the points from each clan leader, and then I guess conclude and end. This video is quite long already. So Gage says, and I think I said the timestamps, but I guess I'll say them again just in case you wanna mark them down. 150 to 2 minutes 30 is the issues with the map and the mod, the network and the connectability issues, which the community hates, but is essentially tolerable. The bottom of the list, the small fish, if you will. From 4 minutes 30 to 5 minutes 8 seconds, he goes over the benefits of decentralizing the activity and the player base. So, not relying on, agents just being all big clans. Which, note, I'll make a tangent here just to interject. This isn't what Gage said. This is my own opinion. A lot of people have said that there being a bigger map would be there being a bigger map would help with this sort of thing. It would give people more places of interest, because nobody wants to just hang out in a forest that has a name and a flag on it. Just because it has a flag doesn't mean it's cool, right? Uh, Enough places of interest to create reasons why bigger clans would like to expand their holdings, or smaller clans would like to have holdings or separate. There wouldn't be a reason to unify constantly to match against other big clans. I think the rules around not being able to have more than one castle lean into this very heavily. But for sake of not going too far on the tangent, I'll come back. This is again the summary of Gage's second point from 4 minutes 30 to 5 minutes and 8 seconds. He talks about the benefits of decentralizing activity and player bases. From 5 minutes 57 to 6 minutes 40, he says that it's not too grindy. I think Warband Man, Ducky, and Seducing Vocals, so everyone in this video has said it is too grindy to some degree. Whether it's much too grindy or a little bit, we don't know. But to some degree, there is a disbalance in that system. Gage believes that there is not. So we we can't assume that the whole community feels that same way. And as a logistician myself, I feel that you know it shouldn't be a constant. Everyone only has swords and nothing else, because that would you might as well just join TDM. And that's my opinion again. I'm on a tangent here. 5 minutes 57 to 6:40. He explains why he doesn't think it's too grindy. Ducky, his section starts at well, not starts, but my notes for his section start at 7 minutes 15, where he explains that the barrier to combat, or the barrier to action, is too high. From 9 minutes and 4 seconds to 10:50, he says that a large amount of value is kept outside of circulation, and the fact that new players are scared to fight good players, and that good players take too much without giving anything back into the system, creates basically a what do you call it? A Great Depression. There's a Great Depression of value because there's none circling around, which is quite true. And maybe there are some economists out there who will weigh in on that, if that's like a real thing. Well, it's probably a real thing, but I don't know if it applies here. 12 minutes 45 to 13:24. Any player, anytime, should be able to make a weapon. That's the summary of that section. And again, I think it should be noted, maybe not followed, but noted. Seducing Vocals, 14 minutes 42 seconds to 16:10, says the feeling of the game inspires interest in the server, but its conditions prevent enjoyment until it dies and then people come back. From 17:15 to 18:37, he says nobody's mad, everybody's cool. That You've heard my thoughts on that. So that is it, and hopefully there is some value gained from this conversation, this back and forth. I believe I will be referencing this video quite often going forward, particularly in conversations referencing persistent Bannerlord. So, yes, hopefully the production and the graphics are to your liking. Other than that, I wish you a wonderful evening and or morning, and I love you. Goodbye.